Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Guru Maha Om Ganana Antva Ganapati Gammavamahe Kavin Kavinam Upavashra Vastramam Jeshtarajam Brahmanan Brahmanaspata Anushoti Visida Sadhanam Om Mahaganadipataye Namaha Om Keshwaya Namaha Om Narayana Namaha Om Madhvaya Namaha Om Govindaya Namaha, Om Vishnuvaya Namaha, Rudraya Namaha, Trivikramaya Namaha, Vamanaya Namaha, Sridharaya Namaha, Vrishikeshaya Namaha, Padmanabhaya Namaha, Damodaraya Namaha, Sankarshnaya Namaha, Vasudevaya Namaha, Pradyumnaya Namaha, Niruddhaya Namaha, Purushottamaya Namaha, Dokshaya Narasimhaya Namaha, Achyutaya Namaha, Janardhanaya Namaha, Upendraya Namaha, Hare Namaha, Sri Krishnaya Namaha, Hari Om, Hari Om. Dear friends, we came to the 14th chapter of Dashamaskanda of Mahabhagavata Purana. In this chapter, we are understanding the Brahma made prayers to Lord Krishna. After creating, Lord Krishna created his own expansion of all the boys in the Gokula who are disappeared because of Brahma. Lord Krishna expanded. This going on for 1 year. Lord Krishna behaved like cows and golas for nearly a year, according to the instruction in scripture. Now, the 14th chapter describes the prayers of Lord Brahma offered to Lord Krishna, who is also known as Nanda Nandana. Because Krishna is the son of Nanda Maharaja, he is also called Nanda Nandana. For his satisfaction, Brahma first praised the beauty of Lord's transcendental limbs and then declared that his original identity of sweetness is even more difficult to comprehend than his opulence. Only by the devotional process of hearing and chanting transcendental sounds received from Vedic authorities can one realize the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna. It is a fruitless to try to realize God through the process outside the scope of Vedic authority. The mystery of the personality of Godhead Lord Krishna, who is the reservoir of unlimited spiritual qualities, is inconceivable. It is even more difficult to understand than the impersonal Supreme. Thus, only by the mercy of Lord Krishna can one understand his glories. Finally, realizing this, Brahma repeatedly condemned his own actions and recognized that Lord Krishna is the ultimate shelter of the universe. He is Brahma's own father, the original Narayana. In this way, Brahma begged the Lord's forgiveness. Brahma then glorified the inconceivable opulence of the personality of Godhead and described the ways in which Brahma and Shiva differ from Lord Vishnu. The reason for the Supreme Lord's appearance in various species of demigods, animals, and so on, the eternal nature of the pastimes of the personality of Godhead, and the temporality of the material world. By knowing the Supreme Personality, Lord Krishna, in truth, the individual spirit soul can achieve liberation from bondage. In actually, however, both liberation and bondage are unreal, for it is only from the living entity's conditioned outlook that this bondage and liberation are produced. Thinking the personal form of Lord Krishna illusory, fools reject his lotus feet and look elsewhere to find the Supreme Self. But the futility of their search is the obvious proof of their foolishness. There is simply no way to understand the truth of the personality of Godhead without his mercy. Having established this conclusion, Lord Brahma analyzed the great good fortune of the residents of Rajabhumi and Vrindavana, and then personally prayed to be born there even as a blade of grass, a bush, or a creeper. Indeed, the homes of residents of Vrindavana are not prisons of material existence, but rather abodes enmade even by the jnanis and yogis. On the other hand, any home without a connection to Lord Krishna is in fact a prison cell of material existence. Finally, Brahma offered his whole self at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord and praising him again and again, circumambulated him and took his leave. Lord Krishna then gathered the animals Brahma stole and led them to the place on the Yamuna's bank where the cowherd boys had been were taking lunch. The same friends who had been present before were sitting there now. By the power of Krishna's illusory energy, they were not at all aware of what had happened. Thus, when the Krishna arrived with the calves, the boys told him, "You have returned so quickly. Very good. As long as you were gone, we could not take even a morsel of food, so come and eat." Laughing at the words of the cowherd boys, Lord Krishna began taking his meal in their company. While eating, Krishna pointed out to his young friends the skin of the python, and the boys thought, "Krishna has just now killed this terrible snake." Indeed, later they related to the residents of Vrindavana the incident of Krishna's killing the Agha demon Aghasura. In this way, the cowherd boys described pastimes that Lord Krishna had performed in his Balya age, in his tender age of Balya age, even though his Pauganda age, 6 to 10, had begun. Sukadeva Maharshi concludes this chapter by explaining how the gopis loved Lord Krishna even more than they loved their own sons. So this is the in summary what I said about the this 14th chapter. Now the chapter commences with the details, shloka and meaning. Brahma Uvacha. The text starts with the Brahma Uvacha. The Brahma is telling this. Naumidhyate Bhava Prapesho Tadidambaraya Gunjavatam Saparimichalla Sanmukaya Vanyasraje Kavala Vetra Veshana Vena Lakshasriye Mridupade Pashu Pangajaya. Lord Brahma is telling like this. Lord Brahma says, "My dear Lord, you are the only worshipable Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore I offer my humble obeisances and prayers just to please you. O son of the king of the cowards, your transcendental body is dark blue like a new cloud. Your garment is brilliant like lightning, and beauty of your face is enhanced by your gunja earrings and the peacock feather on your head. Wearing garlands of various forest flowers and leaves, and equipped with a herding stick, a buffalo horn, and a flute. You stand beautifully with a morsel of food in your hand." In the previous chapter, Brahma, the creator of the universe, tried to bewilder the Supreme Personality Godhead, Lord Krishna, by stealing his cowherd boyfriends and cows. But by slight exhibition of Krishna's own mystic potency, Brahma himself was completely bewildered. And now, with a great humility and devotion, he offers his humble obeisances and prayers unto the Lord. The word kavala in this verse refers to a morsel of rice mixed with a yogurt that Krishna held in his left hand. Kavala. According to Sanatana Goswami, the Lord held a cowherding stick and a buffalo horn pressed under his left arm, and his flute was placed under his belt. Beautiful young Krishna, decorated with multicolored forest minerals, exhibited opulences far greater than those of Vaikuntha. Although Brahma had seen innumerable four-armed forms of Lord, although Brahma had seen innumerable four-armed forms of the Lord, he now surrendered unto the lotus feet of the two-armed form of Krishna, who appeared as the son of Nanda Maharaja. Brahma offered his prayers to that form. Asyapi deva gupasho madanagrahasya swechyamayasya nubhutamayasya topi neshe mahittvavasthitam manasantarena sakshatvaiva kimatatma sukana bhute. This is the second shloka of the 14th chapter. My dear Lord, Brahma continued, neither I nor anyone else can estimate the potency of this transcendental body of yours, which has shown such mercy to me and which appears just to fulfill the desires of your pure devotees. Although my mind is completely withdrawn from material affairs, I cannot understand your personal form. How then could I possibly understand the happiness you experience within yourself? In Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chapter 14, Srila Prabhupada explained that in the present verse of Lord Brahma, expressed the following prayerful sentiment. Your appearance as a cowherd child is for the benefit of the devotees. And although I have committed an offense at your lotus feet by stealing away your boys and calves, I can understand that you have bestowed your mercy upon me. That is your transcendental quality. You are very affectionate toward your devotees. But in spite of your great affection for me, I cannot estimate the potency of your bodily activities. It is to be understood that when I, that is Lord Brahma, the Supreme Personality of this universe, cannot estimate the childlike body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then what to speak of others? And if I cannot estimate the spiritual potency of your childlike body, then what can I understand about your transcendental pastimes? Therefore, as it is said in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who can understand a little of the transcendental pastimes, appearance, and disappearance of the Lord immediately becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of God. And after quitting the material body, this statement is confirmed in the Vedas, where it is stated simply by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can overcome the chain of repeated birth and death. I therefore recommend that people should not try to understand you by their speculative knowledge. When Brahma disrespected the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, first bewildered him by exhibiting the Lord's own transcendental power. Then, having humbled his devotee, Brahma, Krishna gave him his personal audience. According to Lord Krishna's transcendental body can also function through the agency of his potency called expansion called Vishnu Tattva. As stated by Brahma himself in the Brahma Samhita, Angani Yasya Sukalendriya Vrittamanti. This verse indicates not only that the Lord can perform the bodily function with any of his limbs, but also that he can see through eyes of his Vishnu expansion, or indeed through the eyes of anything, entity, and similarly that he can hear through the ears of any Vishnu or Jiva expansion. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura points out that although the Lord can perform any function with any one of his senses, in his transcendental pastimes, Sri Krishna, he generally sees with his eyes, touches with his hands, hears with his ears, and so on. Thus, he behaves like the most beautiful and charming young covered boy. The Vedic knowledge expands from Lord Brahma. Vedic knowledge expands from Lord Brahma, who is described in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam as Adikavi. The primeval Vedic scholar at Brahma could not understand the transcendental body of Lord Krishna because it is beyond the reach of ordinary Vedic knowledge. Among all the transcendental forms of the Lord, the two-armed form of Govinda Krishna. Among all the transcendental forms of the Lord, the two-armed form of Govinda Krishna is original and supreme. The Lord Govinda's pastimes of stealing butter, drinking the gopis' breast milk, tending the cows, playing his flute, and playing childhood sports are extraordinary even in comparison with the activities of the Lord Vishnu's expansion. Those who, even while remaining situated in the established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words, and mind offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Here the word Udapasya clearly indicates that one should not even slightly endeavor to understand the absolute truth by the process of mental speculation, for it invariably carries one to an imperfect, impersonal understanding of God. The word Jivanti indicates that a devotee who always hears about Lord Krishna will go back home, back to Godhead, even if he can do nothing except maintain his existence and hear topics concerning the Lord. Srila Sanatana Goswami has explained the words Tanu, Tanuvan Manobhi by the body, words, and mind in three ways. In reference to devotees, through their body, words, and mind, they are able to conquer Lord Krishna, thus becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness. They can touch his lotus feet with their hands, call him to come with their words, and attain his direct audience within their mind simply by thinking about him. In the case of non-devotees, the words Tanuvana Manobhi refer to the word Ajita, unconquered, and indicate that those not engaged in loving service of Lord Krishna cannot conquer the absolute truth by their bodily strength, verbal expertise of or mental power. Despite all their endeavors, the ultimate truth remains beyond their reach. In reference to the word Ajita, in reference to the word Jita, conquered, Jita is conquered. The words Tanu Vana Manubhi indicate that the pure devotee of Lord Krishna conquer his body, words, and mind. Lord Krishna is conquered because he was always remains by the side of his pure devotees. Lord Krishna's words are conquered because he always chants the glories of his devotees. And Lord Krishna's mind is conquered because he always thinks about his loving devotees. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura has explained the words of Tanu Vana Manobhi in regard to the word Namanaha, Namantaha, offering obeisances. He explained that the devotees can take a full advantage of the transcendental topics of the Lord by offering all respects to those topics with their body, words, and mind. One should engage his body by touching the ground with his hands and head while offering obeisances to the topics of the Lord. One should engage his words by praising transcendental literature such as Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as the devotees who are preaching such literatures. And one should engage his mind by feeling great reverence and pleasure while hearing the transcendental topics of the Lord Krishna. In this way, a sincere devotee who has acquired even a small amount of transcendental knowledge about Lord Krishna can conquer him and thus go back to home and back to Godhead, Vaikuntha for eternal life at the Lord's side. My dear Lord, devotional service unto you is the best path for self-realization. That is Bhakti Marga. Bhakti Marga, Bhakti Yoga. If someone gives up that path and engages in the cultivation of speculative knowledge, he will simply undergo a troublesome process and he will not achieve his desired result. As a person who beats an empty husk of wheat cannot get grain. One who simply speculates cannot achieve self-realization. His only grain is trouble. Loving service to the Supreme Person is the natural and eternal function of every living entity. If a person renounces his own constitutional function and instead laboriously seeks so-called enlightenment through impersonal speculative knowledge, his result is simply the trouble and bother that come from following an artificial process. A fool may eat an empty husk, not knowing that grain was already been removed. Similarly, foolish is the person who throws his mind again and again into the pursuit of knowledge without surrendering to Supreme Personality of Godhead. For it is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is the very substance and goal of the knowledge. Just as grain is the substance and goal of the entire agricultural effort, Vedic knowledge, or indeed the material science, without the personality of Godhead, is exactly like an empty and useless husk of wheat. One may argue that by practicing yoga or cultivating impersonal knowledge, one can acquire prestige, wealth, mystic powers, or even impersonal liberation. But these so-called gains are actually useless because they do not situate the living being in his constitutional position. ಅದು ಈಗ ಭಾಗವತ ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದೀನಿ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿನಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋ.
ಅದೇನು? ಓಕೆ, ಕೊಡು. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಅಮ್ಮ, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಅದು ಒಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲ್ ಐಡಿ ಕಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ, ಆ ಮೇಲ್ ಐಡಿಗೆ ಮೇಲ್ ಹಾಕಿಬಿಡಿ, ನೀವು ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ. ಅಡ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದು ಮೇಲ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬಿಡಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ನಿಮ್ದು ಇಮೇಲ್ ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ?
ಮೇಲ್ ಐಡಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕಳಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ.
ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಮೇಲ್ ಐಡಿ ಕೊಡಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಏನ್ ಬರ್ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಬರ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಈಗ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಫರ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ಅಮ್ಮ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಅಮ್ಮ, ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಬಾಯ್ ಬಾಯ್. Sorry for the disturbance. We are talking about Bhakti Yoga. One may argue that by practicing Bhakti Yoga or cultivating impersonal knowledge, one can acquire prestige, wealth, mystic powers, or even impersonal liberation. But these so-called gains are actually useless. Different type of yoga are not going to help. Only Bhakti Yoga is helpful because they do not situate the living being in his constitutional position of loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. Therefore, such results, being superfluous to the living being's essential nature, are impermanent, as stated in the Narasimha Purana. Putreshu, Pushpeshu, Phaleshu, Toyeshu, Akrita, Labhyeshu, Vadaiva, Sasala, Bhakteya, Sulabhya, Purusyu, Purane, Muktaye, Kim, Artham, Kriyate, Prayatnaha. This is a small statement in Sanskrit. Narasimha Purana says, since the primeval personality of Godhead is easily attained by offering him such things as leaves, flowers, fruits, and water, which are all found without difficulty, why does one need to endeavor for liberation separately? Although the process of devotional service to Lord Krishna is very simple, it is extremely difficult for stubborn, conditioned souls to completely humble themselves before the Supreme Personality of Godhead and absorb themselves 24 hours a day in his loving service. The mood of loving service is anathema to belligerent, conditioned. The mood of loving service is anathema and to belligerent, conditioned souls determined to defy God and enjoy. That is not good. People who are defying the God and God's loving service are not going to enjoy. They are going to suffer. They may enjoy temporarily. When such stubborn, conditioned souls attempt to bypass surrendering to God through proud attempts at philosophical speculation, austerity, and yoga, they are turned back to the material platform by the powerful laws of God and violently merged into the heaving ocean of insignificance called the material world. O Almighty Lord, in the past many yogis in this world achieved the platform of devotional service by offering all their endeavors unto you and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties. Through such devotional service, perfected by the process of hearing and chanting about you, they came to understand you, O infallible one, and could easily surrender to you and achieve your supreme abode. O Almighty Lord, in the past many yogis in this world achieved the platform of devotional service by offering all their endeavors unto you and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties. Through such devotional service, perfected by the process of hearing and chanting about you, they came to understand you, O infallible one, and could easily surrender to you and achieve your supreme abode. Non-devotees, however, cannot realize you in your full personal feature. Nevertheless, it may be possible for them to realize your expansion as the impersonal supreme by cultivating direct perception of the self within the heart. But they can do this only by purifying their mind and senses of all conceptions of material distinctions and all attachment to material sense objects. Only in this way will your personal future manifest itself to them. It is difficult for conditioned souls to understand all the transcendental features of the Supreme Lord, as confirmed in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Shabdeti. The transcendental existence of God is understood progressively as the impersonal effulgence, the localized supersoul in one's heart, and finally the Supreme Personality of Godhead existing in his eternal abode. Lord Krishna's transcendental existence is beyond the qualities of material nature. Thus, here the Lord is referred to as Agunasya, without material qualities. Even by practicing yoga or engaging in advanced philosophical speculation, one will find it very difficult to understand clearly the transcendental existence beyond the modes of material nature. And these processes are virtually useless for understanding the Lord's own unlimited transcendental qualities, which are far beyond the impersonal conception of spiritual existence. Only by the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord or by associating with the Lord himself can one begin the process of realizing the personal feature of God, a process that culminates in pure Krishna consciousness, the final and supreme perfection of knowledge. In time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms of the earth. In time, learned philosophers or scientists might be able to count all the atoms in the earth, the particles of snow, or perhaps even the shining molecules of radiating from the sun, the stars, and other luminaries. But among these learned men, who could possibly count the unlimited transcendental qualities possessed by you, the Supreme Person of Godhead, who have descended onto the surface of the earth for the benefit of all living entities? Srila Sanatana Goswami explains that Lord Krishna is Gunatma, the soul of all super qualities, because he gives them life. For example, one may discuss in an abstract way such qualities as generosity, intelligence, and mercy, but they came to life only when living person exhibits them. Thus, Lord Krishna is Gunatma because he descends to the material world and re-establishes religious principles by exhibiting all godly qualities himself and inspiring them in others. A living entity who develops the transcendental qualities found in the Lord Krishna receives immeasurable benefit and eventually goes with the Lord back to his own abode, where all living beings are liberated and fully endowed nature. Srila Sanatana Goswami further explains that the Lord manifests a specific spiritual quality for the benefit of each living entity. Since there are innumerable living entities within the countries, within the confines of the material creation, the Lord manifests infinite qualities. Thus, every conditioned soul can appreciate the Lord, Supreme Lord, in a particular way. The example is given here that even if the most learned scholars could someday count the particles of the earth, snow, and light, they would still fail to understand the qualities of the Lord Krishna. In this example, the earth, snow, and light are progressively more subtle. Thus, it is to be understood that there is an increasing difficulty in counting their virtually infinite particles. According to Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura, great personalities like Lord Shankara, Lord Shankarshana actually have counted the number of atoms on the earth and even the molecules in the entire universe. At even such a personality as Sankarshana, who has been continuously chanting the glories of Lord Krishna since time immemorial, has not even approached a final count of these glories. Lord Krishna exhibits his most astonishing qualities during his childhood pastimes in Vrindavana, where he steals butter from the cowherd ladies, dances with the his girlfriends and plays with his coward boyfriends as their most dear companion. Although appearing like ordinary human activities, such sublime pastimes embody Lord Krishna's immeasurable and innumerable beautiful transcendental qualities, which are the life and soul of the pure devotees. So still the Brahma is still submitting his prayers. Tattenukampam susumekshramano bunjana evatkritan vipakam hrudyagnuparbivi dadannamaste jivito ye muktipade sadayabhak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your costless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectable obeisances with his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. My Lord, just see my uncivilized impudence. To test your power, I tried to extend my illusory potency to cover you, the unlimited primeval super soul, who bewilder even the matters of masters of illusion. What am I compared to you? I am just like a small spark in the presence of a great fire. A great fire produces many sparks, which are insignificant in comparison to its total fire. Indeed, if one of the small sparks were to try to burn the original fire, the attempt would be simply ludicrous. Similarly, even the creator of the entire universe, Lord Brahma, is an insignificant spark of the potency of God. And therefore, Brahma's attempt to bewilder the Supreme Lord was certainly ludicrous. Brahma here addresses Lord Krishna as Isha, which indicates that Krishna is not only the supreme master of everyone, but is also specifically the master of Brahma also, who creates the universe directly under the guidance of Lord Krishna and who indeed is born directly from the Lord's own body, navel. Brahma felt ashamed of his impudent attempt at deluding Lord Krishna, and he was therefore perfectly willing to be punished, forgiven by the Lord. According to his decision, if Lord Krishna does not mercifully punish his devotees when they act improperly, their foolishness will simply increase and gradually completely overwhelm their devotional sentiments. Therefore, Lord Krishna kindly disciplines his devotees and maintains them on the progressive path back home, back to Godhead. Back to Godhead means going back to Vaikuntha, Vishnu Loka. Therefore, O infallible Lord, kindly excuse my offenses. I have taken birth in the mode of passion, and I am therefore simply a foolish presuming myself a controller independent of your lordship. My eyes are blinded by the darkness of ignorance, which causes me to think of myself as the unborn creator of the universe. But please consider that I am your servant and therefore worthy of your compassion. What am I? A small creature measuring 7 spans of my own hand. I am enclosed in a pot-like universe composed of material nature, the total material energy, false ego, ether, air, water, and earth. And what is your glory? Unlimited universes pass through the pores of your body, just as particles of the dust pass through the openings of the screened windows. O Lord Adokshaja, does a mother takes offense when the child within her womb kicks its legs? And is there anything in existence, whether designated by various philosophers as real or unreal, that is actually outside your abdomen? My dear Lord, it is said that When the three planetary systems are merged into water at the time of dissolution, your planetary portion, Narayana, lies down on the water. Gradually, lotus flower grows from his navel and Brahma takes birth upon the lotus flower. Certainly, these words are not false. Thus, I am not born from you. Thus, am I not born from you? Although every living being is a child of God, Lord Brahma here makes a special claim because he takes birth on a lotus flower that emanates from the navel of Narayana, the personality of Godhead. Ultimately, all living beings are equally expansions of transcendental body of the Supreme Lord. But Brahma has an intimate relationship with Lord because of the activities of universal creation. And so he uses the prefix Vi in the word Vinirgata, to being Lord's special mercy. Lord Brahma is called Aja because he is not born from any mother, but rather emanates directly from the body of the Lord Narayana. As Srila Prabhupada states in Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is naturally concluded that the mother of Brahma is Narayana. On these grounds, Lord Brahma is requesting special forgiveness for his offenses. Shloka 14 says, Narayastam nahi sarvadehina matma sadishakila lokasokshi Narayanongam narabhujalayana tvachapi satyam na tadaiva maya. Are you not the original Narayana, O Supreme Controller? Since you are the soul of every Are you not the original Narayana, O Supreme Controller? Since you are the soul of every embodied living being and eternal witness of all created realms. Indeed, Lord Narayana is your expansion, and he is called Narayana because he is the generating source of the primeval water of the universe. He is real, not a product of your illusory Maya. He is real, not a product of your illusory Maya. My dear Lord, if your transcendental body, which shelters the entire universe, is actually lying upon the water, then why were you not seen by me when I searched for you? And why, though I could not envision you properly within your heart, within my heart, did you then suddenly reveal yourself? ಏನು ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ?
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೆವಿ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾ?
ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ನೀನು ಕಳಿಸು, ಫಾರಂ ಕಳಿಸು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಹತ್ರ. ನಾನು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಭಾಗವತ ಓದ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅದನ್ನ ಸ್ಟಾಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಮನೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ, 14 ಲಕ್ಷ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, 3 ಲಕ್ಷ ಇರ್ಲಿ, ಖರ್ಚಿ 3 ಲಕ್ಷ ಇಟ್ಟು 14 ಲಕ್ಷ ಬಾಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಕ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಹಂಗೆ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ನೀಡಂಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ.
ಸರಿ ಸರಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಫಾರಂ ಕಳಿಸು, ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ. ಓಕೆ 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 ಓಕೆ. Lord Brahma says, continued, my dear Lord, in this incarnation, you have proved that you are the supreme controller of Maya. Although you are now within this universe, the whole universal creation is within your transcendental body. A fact demonstrated by exhibiting the universe within your abdomen before your mother Ashoda. Lord Brahma here describes the inconceivable spiritual potency of the Lord Krishna. We may find a pot within a house but we can hardly expect to find house within the same part. By the Lord's spiritual potency, however, he can appear within this universe and simultaneously exhibit all the universes within his body. One may argue that since the universes seen by Mother Yashoda within the Lord Krishna's abdomen or within the Lord's body, they are different from the illusionary material universes manifest externally. Here, the Lord Brahma refutes that our argument, however, that Lord Krishna is Maya Damana, the supreme controller of illusion. By the Lord's own supreme mystic potency, he can bewilder even illusion herself, and thus the Lord actually exhibited all the material universes within his body. This is Mayatvam, the supreme bewildering potency of the personality of Godhead. Just as this entire universe, including you, was exhibited within your abdomen, so it is now manifested here externally in the same exact form. How could such things happen unless arranged by your inconceivable energy? Have you not shown me today that both you, yourself, and everything within this creation are manifestations of your inconceivable potency? First you appeared alone, and then you manifested yourself as all of Vrindavana's calves and cowherd boys, your friends. Next you appeared as an equal number of 400 Vishnu forms who were worshipped by all living beings, including me. And after that, you appear as an equal number of complete universes. Finally, you have now returned to your unlimited form as a supreme absolute truth, one without a second. As stated in the Vedic literature, Sarvam Kalva Idam Brahmam. Sarvam Kalva Idam Brahma. Everything that exists in expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, everything is ultimately a part and parcel of the Lord's spiritual existence. By Lord Krishna's causeless mercy, Lord Brahma personally experienced that all existence, being the potency of God, is not different from him. To persons ignorant of your actual transcendental position, you appear as a part of the material world, manifesting yourself by the expansion of your inconceivable energy. Thus, for the creation of the universe, you appear as me, Brahma. For its maintenance, you appear as yourself, Vishnu. And for its annihilation, you appear as Lord Trinetra, Shiva. Although impersonal Mayavadi philosophers think that gods are illusionary, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu are stated here to be expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are thus real. Indeed, they are the extraordinary, powerful controllers of the universe. The ultimate truth is a supreme and beautiful person. And thus, throughout the creation of God, we will always find that personal touch. O Lord, O Supreme Creator and Master, you have no material birth, yet to defeat the false pride of the faithless demons and show mercy to your saintly devotees. You take birth among the demigods, sages, human beings, animals, and even the aquatics. O Supreme Great One, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Super Soul, Master of all mystic power, your pastimes are taking place continuously in these three worlds. But who can estimate where, how, and when you are employing your spiritual energy and performing these innumerable pastimes? No one can understand the mystery of how your spiritual knowledge acts. Brahma previously stated that Lord Krishna incarnates among the gods, human beings, animals, fish, and so on. This does not mean, however, that the Lord is degraded by his incarnations, As Brahma clarifies here, no conditioned soul can understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's activities, which he enacts himself as Brahma clarifies here, no conditioned soul can understand the transcendental nature of the Lord's activities, which he enacts through his spiritual potency. Although the Lord is Bhuman, the supremely great one, he is still Bhagavan, the supremely beautiful personality exhibiting pastimes of love in this one abode. At the same time, he is Paramatma, all-pervading supersoul, who witnesses and sanctions all the activities of conditioned souls. The Lord's multiple identity is explained by the term Yogeshwara. The absolute truth is the master of all mystic potencies, and although he is one and supreme, he manifests his greatness and opulence in many different ways. Such elevated spiritual matters can hardly be understood by foolish persons, primitively identify themselves with the insignificant material body. These conditioned souls, such as atheistic scientists, consider their own puffed up intelligence These conditioned souls, such as atheistic scientists, consider their own puffed up intelligence supreme. Gullibly placing their firm faith in the material illusion, they are captured by the modes of nature and driven far away from knowledge of the God. Therefore, this entire universe, which like a dream is by nature unreal, nevertheless appears real, and thus it covers one's consciousness and assails one with repeated misery. This universe appears real because it is manifested by the potency of illusion emanating from you, whose unlimited transcendental forms are fully eternal happiness and knowledge. We cannot properly understand this universe of the Supreme Lord who has created it. As the expansion of Lord Krishna, the universe is real and is meant for being engaged in his service. One who accepts the kingdom of God as home, the Lord himself as the object of love, and the material universe as paraphernalia for being engaged in the world's Lord's service, dwells within the eternal reality, wherever he may go within the material realm and spiritual worlds. You are the one supreme soul, the primeval supreme personality, the absolute truth, self-manifested, endless and beginningless. You are eternal and infallible, perfect and complete, without any revival and free from all material designations. Your happiness can never be obstructed, nor have you any connection with material contamination. Indeed, you are the indestructible nectar of immortality. Lord Brahma says, Krishna is powerful. Those who received the clear vision of knowledge from the sun-like spiritual master can see you in this way as the very soul of all souls, the super soul of everyone's. Shloka number 25. A person who mistakes a rope of snake becomes fearful, but he then gives up his fear upon realizing that so-called snake does not exist. Similarly, for those who fail to recognize you as the supreme soul of all souls, the expansive illusory material existence arises, but knowledge of you at once causes it to subside. The conception of material bondage and the conception of liberation are both manifestations of ignorance. Being outside the scope of true knowledge, they cease to exist when one correctly understands that the pure spirit soul is distinct from matter and always fully conscious. At that time, bondage and liberation no longer have any significance, just as day and night have no significance from the perspective of the sun. Material bondage is an illusion because the living entity actually has no real relationship with the material world. Because of the false ego, the conditioned soul identifies himself with matter. Therefore, so-called liberation is simply the giving up of an illusion rather than release from actual bondage. And even if we think that the suffering of material illusion is real and that liberation is thus a meaningful release from suffering, the mere absence of material existence is still insignificant compared to the achievement of factual spiritual life, which is positive, eternal reality, opposed to the negative illusion of material life. Ultimately, the Krishna consciousness or pure love of God is the only path, significant, meaningful, and permanent status for every living entity to continue on Bhakti Marga and devotional activities of Lord Krishna. Since the darkness of night is caused by the absence of the sun, one would not experience night within the sun itself, nor would one experience individual days separated by nights. Similarly, within the pure living entity, there is no material darkness and thus no experience of liberation from such darkness. When the conditioned soul becomes to this platform of pure consciousness, he becomes fit to associate with the Supreme Pure, the personality of God himself, in the Lord's own abode, Vaikuntha. Just to see the foolishness of those ignorant persons who consider you to be some separated manifestation of illusion, who consider the self, which is actually you, to be something else, the material body, such fools conclude that the Supreme Soul is to be searched for somewhere outside your Supreme Personality. O unlimited Lord, the saintly devotees seek you out within their own bodies by rejecting everything separate from you. Indeed, how can discriminating persons appreciate the real nature of a rope lying before them until they refute the illusion that it's a snake? One may argue that a person should cultivate self-realization at the same time pursue sense gratification for the material body. The proposition is herein refuted by the example of misidentifying a rope as a snake. One who mistakes a rope for a snake becomes fearful and thinks of the so-called snake, but upon discovering that the so-called snake is actually a rope, he experiences a different emotion relief and can then ignore the rope. Similarly, because we understand the material body, upon discovering, however, that the body is simply a bag of material chemicals, upon discovering, however, that body is simply a bag of material chemicals, we carefully note that how this illusion was created and then lose interest in the body. Discovering that we are actually an eternal soul within the body, we naturally focus our attention onto the real self. Those who are saintly and wise always cultivate Krishna consciousness, spiritual knowledge, and follow the Bhakti Marga and devotional activities, having transcended the foolish misidentification of the body as the self. Such Krishna conscious persons go on to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who dwells within the material body as the Super Soul, the witness and guide of every living entity. Realization of the Super Soul and the individual soul is so pleasing and satisfying that a self-realized soul person automatically gives up everything irrelevant to his spiritual advancement. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Person of Godhead are unable to know you. Even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years, still they are known to you. This translation is quoted from Sri Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 6, text 2084. Lord Krishna is very eager to bestow his mercy upon the conditioned living beings who are uselessly struggling with the Lord's illusionary energy Maya. The conditioned soul struggles for happiness through sense gratification and for knowledge through mental speculation. Both processes ultimately bring him to a morose and hopeless condition. If the conditioned soul surrenders to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and thus acquires even a trace of his causeless mercy, the whole situation is changed, and a living entity can begin his real life of bliss and knowledge of Krishna consciousness. So Brahma submit his prayers, continued, my dear Lord, I therefore pray to be so fortunate that in this life as Lord Brahma or in another life where I took my birth, I may be counted as one of your devotees. I pray that wherever I may be, even among the animal species, I can engage in devotional wish to your lotus feet. O Almighty Lord, how greatly fortunate are the cows and ladies of Vrindavana, the nectar of those whose breast milk you have happily drunk to your full satisfaction, taking the form of their cows and children. All the Vedic sacrifices performed from time immemorial up to the present day have not given you so much satisfaction. How greatly fortunate are Nanda Maharaja, the cover men, and all the other inhabitants of Rajabhumi. There is no limit to their good fortune, because the absolute truth, the source of transcendental bliss, the eternal supreme Brahman, has become their friend. This translation is quoted from Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita. And even though the extent of good fortune of these residents of Vrindavana is unconceivable, we 11 presiding deities of the various senses, headed by Lord Shiva, are also most fortunate because the senses of these devotees of Vrindavana are the cups through which we repeatedly drink the nectarian intoxicating love, beverage of the honey of your lotus feet. My greatest possible good fortune would be to take any birth, whatever, in their forest of Gokula and have my head bathed by the dust falling from the lotus feet of any of its residents. Their entire life and soul is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mukunda, the dust of whose lotus feet is also still being searched for in the Vedic mantras. My mind becomes bewildered just trying to think of what reward other than you could be found anywhere. You are the embodiment of all benedictions which you bestow upon these residents of the covered community of Vrindavana. You have already arranged to give yourself to Putana and her family members in exchange for her disguising herself as a devotee. So what is left for you to give these devotees in Vrindavana, whose homes, wealth, friends, dear relations, bodies, children, and very lives of hearts are all dedicated only to you? My dear Lord Krishna, until the people became your devotees, their material attachments and desires remain thieves, their homes remain prisons, and their affectionate feelings for their family members remain foot shackles. Apparently, the residents of Vrindavana, the abode of Lord Krishna, are simple householders engaged in ordinary affairs such as herding cows, cooking, rearing children, and performing religious ceremonies. However, all these activities are intensely engaged in the loving service of Lord Krishna. The residents of Vrindavana perform all activities in pure Krishna consciousness and thus exist on the most exalted platform of liberated life. Otherwise, the same activities performed without Krishna consciousness constitute ordinary bondage to the material world. Thus, one should not misunderstand the exalted position of the residents of the Vrindavana, nor should one consider oneself highly religious simply because one performs ordinary domestic affairs or very enthusiastically, but without the Krishna consciousness, by focusing our passionate attachment on our family and society, we are completely deviated from the progressive path of Krishna consciousness. Conversely, if we engage our family in the loving service of the Lord, our endeavors to maintain our family become part and parcel of our progressive spiritual duties. In conclusion, by studying the extraordinary status of residents of Vrindavana, we can see that the essential quality of their lives is pure Krishna consciousness, the rendering of loving service to the Lord without a trace of material desire or mental speculation. Such loving service to the original personality of Godhead immediately creates the atmosphere of Sri Vrindavana Dhama, the kingdom of God. My dear master, although you have nothing to do with material existence, you come to this earth and imitate material life just to expand the varieties of ecstatic enjoyment for your surrendered devotees. There are people who say, I know everything about Krishna. Let them think that way. As far as I am concerned, I do not wish to speak very much about this matter. Oh my Lord, let me say this much. As far as your opulences are concerned, they are all beyond the reach of my mind, body, and words. This translation is quoted by Srila Prabhupada's Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, chapter 21, text 27. Shloka number 39. Anujana himam Krishna sarvam tvam vetsi sarvadrika tvameva jagatam natho jagade tattavapshisam. My dear Krishna, I now humbly request permission to leave. Actually, you are the knower and seer of all the things. Indeed, you are the Lord of all the universe, and yet I offer this one universe unto you. So this is how Lord Brahma asked Lord Krishna in the end. In his Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada has quoted Lord Brahma as follows. My dear Lord, although you are the Supreme Lord of all creation, I sometimes falsely think that I am the master of this universe. I may be master of this universe, but there are innumerable universes, and there are also innumerable Brahmas who preside over these universes. But actually, you are the master of them all as the super soul in everyone's heart. You know everything. Please therefore accept me as your surrendered servant. I hope that you will excuse me for disturbing you in your pastimes with your friends and cows. Now, if you will kindly allow me, I will immediately leave so you can enjoy your friends and cows without my presence. The words sarvam tvam vetsi sarvadrik are very significant here. Lord Krishna knows everything and sees everything, and therefore Lord Brahma did not need to remain in Vrindavana to maintain his personal loving contact with the Lord Krishna. In fact, as the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma was somewhat out of place in the simple, blissful atmosphere of Vrindavana, where Lord Krishna was exhibiting his supreme opulences in herding cows, enjoying picnics, playing games, and so on with his playmates. And upon seeing the intense love the residents of Vrindavana had for Lord Krishna, Brahma felt unqualified to remain there. He was not eager to give up the Lord's association, but he felt it better to return to his personal devotional services in Brahmaloka. Somewhat embarrassed and unhappy over his foolish attempt at bewildering the Lord, Brahma preferred to resume his transcendental loving service rather than try to enjoy the Lord's presence. The sloka number 40, Sri Krishna Vrishnikula Pushkara Joshadayin Kshar Nirjana Dvija Pashodha Drupadhikaran Uddharma Sharvarahara Chitirakshasudra Gakalpamarka Mahan Bhagavan Namaste. So he says Namaste. Lord Brahma is telling Namaste. He is leaving. My dear Sri Krishna, you bestow happiness upon the lotus-like Vrishni dynasty and expand the great oceans consisting of the earth, gods, the Brahmanas, and the cows. You dispel the dense darkness of irreligion, and oppose the demons who appear on this earth. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, as long as this universe exists and as long as the sun shines, I will offer my obeisances unto you. Lord Brahma submitted his prayers and he wanted to take his permission to go to Brahmaloka. Now, Shuka Maharshi is telling Parikshit Raj, Sukavacha ityabishtuya bhumanam tri parikramya padayo natva abhishtam jagaddhata swadama pratyapadyataha. Shuka Maharshi is telling to Parikshit Maharaja now, having thus offered his prayers, Brahma circumambulated his worshipable Lord Krishna, the unlimited personality of Godhead, 3 times, and then bowed down at his lotus feet. The appointed creator of the universe then returned to his own abode, his own residence. So Lord Brahma had prayed to take birth as a blade of grass in the Vrindavana, or even in the area surrounding Vrindavana. Lord Krishna, by his silent response to Brahma's prayers, indicated that Brahma should return to his own abode. First, Brahma had to complete his personal devotional service of universal creation. Then he could come to Vrindavana and get the mercy of the inhabitants there. In other words, a devotee should always be attentive to executing his personal devotional service properly. This is more important than trying to live in the Lord's abode. After granting his son Brahma permission to leave, the Supreme Personality of Godhead took the cows who were still where they had been a year earlier and brought them to the river bank where he had been taking his meal and where his cowherd boyfriends remained just as before. The word Swabhuvam, to his own son, indicates that the Lord Krishna forgave the offense of Brahma and committed and treated him with affection as his son. It is stated in this verse that the original cowherd boyfriends and cows were situated just as before near the bank of the Yamuna river and in the forest, respectively. Previously, the cows had disappeared within the forest, and Lord Krishna had gone to search for them. Not finding them, the Lord had returned to the river bank to discuss the situation with his cowherd boyfriends, but they had also disappeared. Now the cows were once again in the forest and the boyfriends once again in the bank of the river, ready to take their lunch. According to Sri Sanatana Goswami, the calves and boys remained in the forest and on the river bank, respectively, for 1 full year. Lord Brahma did not actually take them away to another place. By the Lord's omnipotent illusory energy, the gopis and other residents of Vrindavana did not notice the calves and boys, nor did the calves and boys notice the passing of a year's time or feel by any hunger, cold, or thirst. And this was part of the pastime arrangement of the Lord, arranged by the Lord's illusionary potency. Lord Brahma thought, I have kept all boys and cows in Gokula sleeping in the bed of my mystic potency, and to this very day they were not risen. A similar number of boys and calves have been playing with Krishna for one whole year, yet they are not different from the ones illusioned by my mystic potency. Who are they? Where did they come from? Nothing is invisible to Supreme Lord. Thus Lord Krishna appeared to be searching for the cows and boys, only to enact the dramatic pastimes of bewildering Lord Brahma. After Brahma surrendered and offered prayers, Lord Krishna returned to the original boys and cows, who appeared exactly as before, although there seems he had somewhat increased because of 1 year's growth. O king, although the boys had passed the entire year apart from the Lord of their very lives, they had been covered by Lord Krishna's illusionary potency, and thus consider that year nearly half a moment. What indeed is not forgotten by those whose minds are bewildered by the Lord's illusionary potency. By that power of Maya, this entire universe remains in perpetual bewilderment. And in this atmosphere of forgetfulness, no one can understand his own identity. It's clearly stated that here that the entire universe is bewildered. Thus, even the great gods like Indra and Brahma are not exempt from the principle of forgetfulness, since Lord Krishna exercised his eternal illusionary potency over his coward boyfriends and cows. It is not at all astonishing that for 1 year they could not remember their position. Indeed, by the Lord's external illusionary potency, the conditioned souls forget their existence not only for 1 year, but for many billions of years if needed, as they transmigrate throughout the kingdom of ignorance called material world. The coward boyfriends said to Lord Krishna, "You have returned so quickly, we have not eaten even one morsel in your absence. Please come here and take your meal without distraction." Then Lord Rishikesha, smiling, finished his lunch in the company of his coward boyfriends. While they were returning from the forest to their homes in the Vraja, Lord Krishna showed the cowherd boys the skin of the dead serpent Aghasura. Lord Krishna's transcendental body was decorated with peacock feathers and flowers and painted with forest minerals, and his bamboo flute loudly and festively resounded. As he called out to his calves by name, his cowherd boyfriends purified the whole world by chanting his glories. Thus Lord Krishna entered the cow pasture of his father Nanda Maharaja, and the sight of his beauty at once produced a great festival for the eyes of all the cowherd women. As the cowherd boys reached the village of Vraja, they sang, "Today Krishna saved us by killing a great serpent." Some of the boys described Krishna as the son of Yashoda and others as son of Nanda Maharaja. Actually, Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasura 1 year earlier, but the boys, bewildered by the mystic potency of Brahma for 1 year, did not notice the time passing, and thus thought that on that very day, Lord Krishna had killed the demon Aghasura and was now returning home with them. King Parikshit said to Shuka, "O Shuka Maharshi, how could the cowherd woman have developed for Krishna, someone else's son, such unprecedented pure love they never felt, even for their own children? Please explain this." Shuka Maharshi said, "O king, for every created being, the dearmost thing is certainly his own self. The dearness of everything else, children, wealth, and so on, is due only the dearness of the self. Sometimes the modern thinkers become puzzled when they study the psychology of moral behavior, although every living entity is inclined towards self-preservation. As stated here, sometimes a person voluntarily sacrifices his own apparent interest through philanthropic or patriotic activities, such as giving his money for the benefit of others or giving his life for the national interest. Such so-called selfless behavior appears to contradict the principle of material self-centeredness and self-preservation. As explained this verse, however, a living entity serves its society, nation, family, and so on, only because these objects of affection represent the expanded concept of false ego. A patriot sees himself as a great servitor of a great nation, and thus he sacrifices his life to gratify his sense of egoism. Similarly, it is common knowledge that a man feels great pleasure by thinking that he is sacrificing everything to please his dear wife and children. A man derives great egoistic pleasure by seeing himself as a selfless well-wisher of his so-called family and community. Thus, to gratify his proud sense of false ego, a man is prepared even to lay down his life. This apparently contradictory behavior is yet another demonstration of the bewilderment of material life, which has neither rhyme nor reason, being a manifestation of gross ignorance of the non-material soul. For this reason, O best of kings, the embodied soul is self-centered. He is more attached to his own body and self than to his so-called possessions, like the children, wealth, and home. Indeed, the persons who think the body is the self, O best of kings, those things whose importance lies only in their relationship to the body are never as dear as the body itself. If a person comes to the stage of considering the body is mine instead of me, he will certainly not consider the body as dear as his own self. After all, even as the body is growing old and useless, one's desire to continue living remains strong. The word mamata bhak is very significant here. An ordinary foolish person thinks, I am this body. A more discriminating, intelligent person thinks, this is my body. In the literature and folklore of ordinary people, we find that common theme of an old, decrepit person dreaming of obtaining a new young body. Thus, even ordinary persons pick up the notion of self-realization instinctively, understanding that it's possible for the soul to exist in many different bodies. As the body of an intelligent person becomes old and useless, he strongly desires to live even when he knows that his body cannot live much longer. This indicates he is gradually becoming aware that his self is more important. Self is Atma. This indicates that he is gradually becoming aware that his Atma is more important than his body. Thus, simply the desire for life can indirectly bring one to a preliminary understanding of self-realization. And in this case as well, one's basic attachment is to one's own self, that is Atma, and not to that which supposedly belongs to oneself. It may be pointed out that the entire discussion between the King Parikshit and Shuka Maharshi regarding the dearness of one's own self is ultimately meant for broaching the subject of why the cows and covered ladies of Vrindavana consider Krishna more dear than their own selves, and certainly more dear than their own offspring. The discussion proceeds as follows. Therefore, it is his own self that is most dear to every embodied living being, and it is simply for the satisfaction of this self, that's Atma, that the whole material creation of moving and non-moving entities exist. The word karam indicates moving living entities such as animals and non-moving living entities such as trees, or the word may also refer to moving possessions. such as one's family and pets, and non-moving possessions such as one's house and household paraphernalia. You should know Lord Krishna to be the original soul of all living entities. For the benefit of the whole universe, he has, out of his costless mercy, appeared as an ordinary human being. He has done this by the strength of his internal potency. Those in this world who understand Lord Krishna as he is, see all things, whether stationary or moving, as manifest forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such enlightened persons recognize no reality apart from the Supreme Lord Krishna. Everything exists within the Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna exists within everything. Still, the order of progression is always from the energetic to the expanded energy. Lord Krishna is the original identity from whom all other identities emanate. He is the supreme energetic from whom all categories and dimensions of energy become manifest. Thus, our personal bodies, self, family, friends, nation, planet, universe, and so on are all manifestations of the Supreme Lord, who expands himself through his personal potencies. Lord Krishna is certainly the supreme object of our love and attraction. Lord Krishna is certainly the supreme object of our love and attraction, and other objects such as body, family, and home should be secondary objects of our affection. Moreover, a close analytic study of the actual situation will reveal that even the secondary objects of love are also manifestations of Lord Krishna. The conclusion is that Lord Krishna is our only friend and object of love. In his Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prabhupada comments on this verse as follows: without being an expansion of Krishna, nothing can be attractive. Whatever is attractive within the cosmic manifestors is due to Lord Krishna only. Krishna is therefore the reservoir of all pleasure. The active principle of everything is Krishna, and highly elevated transcendentalists see everything in connection with him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is stated that a Bhagavatha, a highly advanced devotee, sees Krishna as the activate principle in all movable and immovable living entities. Therefore, he sees everything within this cosmic manifestation in relation to Lord Krishna. The original unmanifested form of material nature is the source of all material things, and the source of even that subtle material nature is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. What then could one ascertain to be separate from him? For those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who is the shelter of cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's hoof print. Their goal is Paramapadam Vaikuntha, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. This translation, according to Sri Lasidhara Swami, this verse summarizes the knowledge present in this section of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lord Krishna's lotus feet are described as Pallava, flower buds, because they are most tender, and Lord Krishna's lotus feet is tender and pinkish hue. According to the Lord Krishna's lotus feet are just like desire trees, which can fulfill all the desires of the Lord's pure devotees. Even exalted devotees like Sri Narada, who are themselves the great shelter for the conditioned souls in this universe, personally take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Thus it is natural that when Lord Krishna manifests himself, as well as the young boys and girls of Vrindavana, their parents were more attracted to them than previously. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and Since you inquired from me, I have fully described to you those activities of Lord Hari, that's Krishna, that were performed in his 5th year, but not celebrated until his 6th year. Any person who hears or chants these pastimes of Lord Murari performed with his covered boyfriends, the killing of Aghasura, the taking lunch on the forest grass, the Lord's manifestation of transcendental forms, and the wonderful prayers are offered by Lord Brahma is sure to achieve all his spiritual desires. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami, even one who is only inclined to hear and chant the pastimes of Lord Krishna will achieve spiritual perfection. Many devotees seriously engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness are often so busy that they cannot chant and hear the pastimes of Lord to their full satisfaction. However, simply by their intense desire to always chant and hear about Lord Krishna, they will achieve spiritual perfection as well. Of course, as far as possible, one should actually vibrate these transcendental pastimes of Lord Krishna. In this way, the boys spent their childhood in the land of Vrindavana playing hide and go seek, building play bridges, jumping about like monkeys, and engaging in many other such games. According to Srila Sanatana Goswami, the word Nilayanai refers to games such as hide and go and seek or cops and robbers. Sometimes the boys would jump around like the monkeys in Lord Ramachandra's army and then enact the building of the Law Bridge to Sri Lanka by reconstructing play bridges in the lakes of ponds. Sometimes the boys would imitate the pastimes of churning the ocean of milk, and sometimes they would play catch with the balls. We can find full pleasure in the spiritual world with the simple condition that everything be performed in the pure love of Godhead, Lord Krishna. With the simple Bhakti Yoga Marga, devotional activities of Lord Krishna, prayer to Lord Krishna, reading Bhagavata, reading Bhagavad Gita will lead the devotees to reach Lord Krishna's Vaikuntha Loka by following the entire Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Definitely devotees reach Vaikuntha. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Brahma's Prayers to Lord Krishna. This chapter 14th finishes today. We are going to read 15th chapter tomorrow, where Dhenukasura will be killed and Kaliya Sarpa, that is snake in the Yamuna river, will be cured and purified by removing the snake out of that place, Kali. That's what we are going to discuss tomorrow. Namostu Anantaya Sahasramurtaye Sahasrapadakshishrobahuve Sahasranamne Purushashute Sahasrakoti Yugadarane Namaha Sahasrakoti Yugadarane Namaha Om Sahasramuna Akashat Pridam Metagit Sagaram Sarvadev Namaskaraha Sri Keshvam Prigatyo Namaha Sarva Vedeshat Punyam Sarva Tirteshu Atpalam Tatpalam Pramapti Vasana Vasudeva Sevastante Jagatrayam Sarva Bhutani Vasosi Vasudev Muste Kayena Vacha Manase Nerva Buddhatmanama Prakute Sabhavat Karomi Yadyat Sagaram Parasmai Narayana Samarpayami.